curses embedded in language and storytelling. How family phrases, jokes, or truths become subconscious programming. Not every generational curse is anchored by an event, ritual, or legal agreement. Some are maintained almost entirely through the words that get repeated so often they become unquestioned truth. Family language has the power to transmit not just culture, but spiritual agreements, the kind that bypass conscious thought and slip directly into identity. When these phrases are emotionally charged and passed down without scrutiny, they function as curse maintenance scripts, keeping patterns alive even when no one remembers their origin. The power of repetition. Every word we hear, especially in childhood, leaves an imprint. Repetition strengthens that imprint until it becomes automatic thought. In spiritual terms, repeated words function like spoken contracts. Each time they are spoken, the original agreement tied to them is re-signed. When a phrase carries the DNA of fear, limitation, or identity distortion, it acts as a verbal tether to the curse. You may think you're just quoting a parent, grandparent, or cultural saying, but spiritually, you're renewing the terms. How language becomes a curse. Anchor. 1. Origin in trauma or control. Many of these phrases were born in moments of pain, betrayal, or scarcity. They captured the mindset of survival at the time, and by repeating them, the family keeps living from that survival mode long after the moment has passed. 2. Emotional charge. The words are often tied to strong emotions, pride, shame, fear, or grief. This emotional charge binds the phrase to the heart, making it feel personal and true. 3. Unchallenged tradition. Because elders or authority figures spoke them, the phrases are accepted as fact. No one asks if they're helpful, accurate, or aligned with a higher truth. 4. Alignment with the curse's core terms. The most damaging family sayings almost always mirror the curse itself. If the curse is rooted in scarcity, the language reinforces lack. If it's rooted in betrayal, the language reinforces distrust. Examples of cursed language scarcity. Based phrases. Money doesn't grow on trees. We're just not the kind of people who get ahead. You have to work twice as hard for half as much. Illness or weakness. Normalization. In this family, we all have bad backs. The women in our bloodline don't live past 60. You know how our family is always sick. Betrayal conditioning. Never trust anyone outside the family. Family first, no matter what. Even if family is abusive or toxic, loyalty becomes a trap. Identity limitation. You're just like your father, mother. Spoken in a negative context. We're not leaders, we're workers. People like us don't. Shame phrases. Don't get too big for your britches. Who do you think you are? You'll never amount to anything. Jokes as binding agents. Humor is one of the most effective vehicles for transmitting a curse because it bypasses defenses. A family joke might seem harmless, but repeated laughter around a negative idea embeds it in the subconscious without resistance. Example. A family jokingly calls a cousin Spinster Sue at every gathering. Decades later, Sue has internalized the identity, avoids relationships, and even discourages potential partners, fulfilling the curse without realizing it. Stories as programming. Family storytelling is powerful because it shapes identity and destiny. Hero stories can inspire, but when the hero succeeded through manipulation, compromise, or violence, the story normalizes those methods. Warning stories are told to instill fear. Remember what happened to Uncle Joe when he trusted outsiders. This becomes a coded instruction to never leave the family's orbit. Pride stories can lock people into roles. Our family has always been the underdog we fight our way through. This glorifies struggle and makes peace or abundance feel undeserved. Why these words work like contracts. Spiritual law treats spoken agreement as consent. Every time the phrase is repeated, it renews the alignment with the curse's terms. Every time someone laughs, nods, or repeats it, the agreement deepens. Over time, these micro-agreements compound into a core identity. This is why people often find themselves living out the very phrases they heard growing up, even when they consciously reject them. The subconscious treats them as instructions. Case example. The girls in our family don't marry well. A grandmother says this after every wedding in the family, usually with a sigh and a shake of the head. At first, it seems like a harmless commentary, but over decades, it becomes a prophecy. Daughters enter relationships expecting disappointment. They ignore red flags because this is just how it is for us. Even when they have the opportunity for healthy partnerships, they sabotage them, fulfilling the prophecy and keeping the curse alive. How to break the language loop. 1. Identify the scripts. Make a list of family sayings, jokes, or truths you've heard repeatedly. Pay attention to ones that feel heavy, limiting, or fear-based. 2. Trace the pattern. Ask, what happens in our family that matches this phrase? If you can see the pattern, you've found a verbal anchor for the curse. 3. Call out the agreement. Acknowledge that this is not a truth, it's a script. Verbally reject it. That may have been said in the past, but I do not agree with it. That is not my story. 4. Replace with counterlanguage. Create intentional, repeated phrases that align with freedom, abundance, and truth. Say them often enough that they overwrite the old programming. 5. Guard your mouth. Breaking the pattern means refusing to repeat the cursed phrase even as a joke. Your voice has the power to either reinforce or dismantle the agreement. Why this step is critical in curse breaking. You can dismantle altars, close portals, and break contracts, but if your everyday language still renews the agreement, the curse will find its way back in. Language is the maintenance program of a curse. It keeps the operating system running long after the original installer is gone. By identifying and replacing the words that carry the curse, you silence its voice in your own mind and in the collective identity of the family. This is one of the most deceptively simple yet profoundly effective ways to close the door for good. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and what you just watched is part of my signature program, the Chosen One series inside School of Soul. This series is not just a course, it's a blueprint for those who know they were different from the start. The black sheep, the scapegoat, the truth teller, the cycle breaker. Inside, you'll discover the family roles playbook, the golden child, the scapegoat, the enabler, the lost child, and how to finally step out of the part you were cast in without consent. How the black sheep becomes the goat, turning rejection into radical transformation and leadership. How to break generational curses and rewrite ancestral contracts so the pain stops with you. And how to recognize and escape modern forms of spiritual and technological targeting, from gang stalking to synthetic synchronicity. This isn't just about survival. It's about awakening, about reclaiming your voice, your lineage, and your destiny as one of the chosen ones. Click the link below to access the full series now, because the role ends the moment you decide it does, and the real script begins with you.